Hello students, once again welcome back to English Literature Classroom. Today I am going to teach you the chapter To Build a Fire by Jack London. It's a too long story, so I am going to tell you the summary of this story. Come on, let me tell you something about the author Jack London. Jack London, born John Griffith Chaney, was a 19th century American novelist, journalist and social activist. To Build a Fire was published as a short story in the last phase in 1910. Tells of an unnamed man and a dog in the Klondike region of the Yukon in northwestern Canada. Come on, let's tell you the story. Okay, the story opens. The story opens with a description of a terribly cold and grey day on which an unnamed protagonist had set out on a journey. It was 9 o'clock in the morning and there was no sun. The wide Yukon trail lay hidden under 3 feet of ice, clear 3 feet of ice, and as far as the man's eyes could see, it was unbroken white. The man who wished to travel on the Yukon trail to reach the camp by 6 in the evening, by 6 in the evening, in extremely brutal cold, was initially indifferent towards the cold. This was the man's first winter in the Yukon, but because he was without imagination and thus unaccustomed to think about life and death, he was not afraid of the cold, which he estimated as 50 degrees below zero. He did not meditate about man's general weakness, ability to live only within narrow limits of heat and cold. It was only when he spat and it crackled in the air he realized it was colder than 50 below zero. But this did not bother him. The cold did not at all bother him. Clear? The man was accompanied by a big native dog. By whom was the man accompanied? By a big native dog. Clear? It was a wolf dog, grey coated and not noticeable difference from its brother, the wild wolf. The animal was worried by the cold. The man was not worried by the cold, but the animal was worried by the cold. And its instinct told him that this was not the time to travel. The dog's instinct told him that it was not the time to travel. The dog did not know anything about temperature, but the animal sensed the danger. Its fear made it question eagerly every movement of the man, as if expecting him to go into a camp or to seek shelter somewhere and build a fire. The actions of the man and the dog have been used by the author to depict the intensely cold weather. The weather was intensely cold. The moistures of dog's breath was fast freezing. Clear? The man's red beard and mustache were likewise frosted. The man was chewing tobacco. What was the man chewing? Tobacco. Now, at 10 o'clock, the man reached the forks of the Henderson Creek. Clear? At 10 o'clock, the man reached the forks of the Henderson Creek. The man then believed that he was making good use of time in his journey by traveling 4 miles an hour. He decided to stop and rest. His face was numb and his cheeks were frostbitten. He began to wish that he had foreseen the danger of frostbite and he had brought a facial strap for protection. Somehow he realized the danger of springs hidden beneath the snow, covered only by a thin sheet of ice. Getting wet would delay him, for he would then have to build a fire to dry off his feet and clothes. Every time he came on a suspected trap, he forced the dog to go ahead to see if it was safe. He began to feel increasingly nervous about the cold. Clear? Now, at 12:30, the man arrived at the divide of the creek. His rate of travel assured him that he would reach the camp in time-wise, so he decided to stop for lunch. Now the man decided to stop for lunch. He unbuttoned his jacket and took out his lunch. But he was startled, means he was really surprised at the speed with his fingers and toes went numb. For the first time he became frightened. Previously he was not at all frightened. First time he became frightened of the intensity of the freezing weather. It was at this time he thought of the man from Sulphur Creek who told him how cold it sometimes got in this country. Now, warmed and reassured after eating lunch by the fire, the man continued his journey once again. With his confidence restored, he became less aware of his surroundings. He stepped into a hidden spring. Where did he step? Into a hidden spring, which wet him halfway to the knees. The man's immediate reaction was anger, as building another fire to dry himself would delay him. He built another fire. His fire was a success and he was safe. He concluded that any man can travel along as long as he keeps his head. As soon as the man started to untie his vocation to dry his feet, the fire flaming with life blotted out. The man had built the fire twigs to feed the flame, and snow descended and fell on the man and the fire. It was at this deathly moment that the man realized that if only he had a trail mate, he would have been in no danger now. The man decided to rebuild the fire in the open space. He gathered dry grasses and tiny sticks. When the time came to light the matches, his left finger could not hold them, and the whole pack fell to the snow. He somehow lit the matches, but burnt himself badly in the process. The man thought now of killing the dog, to thaw his hands in its carcass. But when he approached the dog, it instinctively recoiled and backed away. When the man at last caught the dog, he was unable to kill it. The man was unable to kill it. His hands had grown so numb that they were useless. Clear? Now he began moving his arms, beating the mitten Now he began beating the mitten. He began moving his arms, beating the mitten that hands against the side. But no feeling was created in his hand. He finally realized that it was a matter of life and death. The fear of death made him lose control of himself, and in French, he began to run along the creek. At last he began to run along the creek bed. He ran frantically, began to regain the feeling in his feet and to reach the camp, but he lacked endurance. The man dropped in exhaustion, realizing that numbness was creeping up his body. He started off again in wild terror. The dog remained with him throughout his panic. The dog remained with him throughout his panic. The man felt jealous and angry at the animal's warm and healthy condition. Now look, the man was feeling jealous and angry at the animal's warm and healthy condition. The man finally resigned to his fate. At last he resigned to his fate. He thought to sleep his way to death. Drowsiness overtook him, and he had visions of walking along with his companions and discovering his own frozen body the next day. Then he also heard himself telling the old timer from Sulphur Creek that he was right about not traveling alone in the brutal cold. Once the dog sensed that the man was dead, it left him and moved towards the camp. Means the dog all alone went towards the camp, where it knew it would find other food providers and fire providers. With this, I'm concluding this video. This is the end of this story. I have told it in short. Because the story is too long. Now most probably MCQ question will come from this story. So you have to read the story again and again. With this, I'm concluding this video. And in my next video, I'm going to bring something new. Until then, goodbye.